Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Vimal Singh and today in this particular video we'll explore what exactly Cloud PKI is. To manage my certificates, authority, the issuing CA, or maybe if I have to issue the certificate to my devices, so how we can do it with the help of Intune Cloud PKI service. So let's get started and see from the architecture to implementation. Okay, so let's understand the Cloud PKI infrastructure. But before coming to this Cloud PKI, let's explore this traditional PKI infrastructure. As you can see at this place, if the organizations have planned their on-prem, or you can say the public key infrastructure within their data center, so these are the component that helps them to create and configure this PKI infrastructure. First, your Active Directory. Second, you need to create root certificate authority. Then you must have a dedicated server as issuing server, intermediate server, maybe policy server. The too many components depends on the organizations. And then the end users or the devices are designed to send a request to this authority or issuing CA through the MMC, and they'll take the respective CA and configure their system. Now, the same infrastructure got replicated into the cloud and it's coming as a managed service with the help of Intune. So what Microsoft has done, all this backend infrastructure is being created and managed by Microsoft, and we are getting it as a service. So if you come to this place, there we got Enter ID managed by Microsoft, Intune managed by Microsoft. Now, top of it, they are offering you a new service, which is add-on service, Cloud PKI. So either you should have Intune Suite license, or you can go with the standalone Cloud PKI license within your Intune. In a moment, we will see how we can activate and take those licenses. So once you have taken this Cloud PKI license, there in a backend, Microsoft will provide you a service that will allow you to create your root CA and issuing CA. So once you created your root CA and issuing CA, now you need to issue the certificate on your managed devices. And this can be your Windows operating system, Mac operating system, iOS, iPad OS, Android, any of these devices can get the certificate from this. I don't need to explain why do we need a certificate. We know why we need a certificate. That's the infrastructure where we are focusing how we are going to issue the certificate, which is fine. Very simple and straightforward. In a moment, we'll go to the practical side and explore how we can configure and issue it. But before going there is one more thing that we need to understand, the architecture, how actually it works in a backend. For that, I'll take you here. And this is the backend architecture for Cloud PKI. It has been categorized in two categories. One is A and B. A is Microsoft Intune service and second one is Cloud PKI service. This Cloud PKI service is based on the Intune. You must have Intune license, and inside that you will have Cloud PKI. Now, if you see, once the device got checked in Intune, now they might request or they might need a certificate. So they can request the certificate. The moment they're requesting, the request will go to this Cloud PKI service. This Cloud PKI service has two major components. One is SCEP service and second one is SCEP validation service. The SCEP stands for Simple Certificate Enrollment Protocol. So this service is responsible to take the request from the devices, a user, and then send it to the validation service. So it will validate the request is valid or not, and it will go and talk to the PKI service, issue the certificate to the user or the device. That's very simple and straightforward we have. The only thing that you need to keep in your mind is SCEP, Simple Certificate Enrollment Protocol, is the main component of your Cloud PKI who helps you to validate and issue the certificate. So that's very simple and straightforward infrastructure we have, as everything is being managed through the cloud. So we don't need to go with the complex scenario as traditional had. So let's get started and see how practically we can implement it. Okay, so we landed here at this Microsoft Intune Admin Center. Now, to play with Cloud PKI, we must have that license as we discussed. So to check that, we need to come to tenant administration. And inside that, you will find this Intune add-on. You need to go to that place. As I mentioned, if you have Microsoft Intune Suite license, then that will be part of that license. As you can see here, we have Cloud PKI inside that. So if you don't have this Intune Suite license and you want to go with this standalone, in that case, you can go and pick this Cloud PKI. In my scenario, I have already taken this. So if I'll go and check the capabilities, this Cloud PKI is active and I can configure it. Do the configuration, you need to come to this Cloud PKI section under this tenant administration. Let's come to this place. And here you will get this create button. Let's create, for example, let's go and create Cloud 360 root CA. Now there, as you can see, we are creating a root certificate authority and intermediate certificate authority. So we need to pick what type of authority you're creating, root or issuing. The first we will create root CA, and there the root CA certificate authority must have the valid certificate, and that validity of this root certificate, you can specify either 5 or maximum you can go for 25 years. Now, here we can provide the use cases, means for purpose. Here we can use for maybe server authentication, maybe client authentication, maybe code signing, or maybe for email protection and so on. Now, just after that, we have to provide the common name. So I'll say Cloud 360 root. Organization is going to be test.org. Organization unit will be IT. Country can be India. State can be Delhi, New Delhi. Now we will provide the algorithm, the key size. So here we are using this RSA and SSA, one for encryption and other is for hashing. So let's pick that one. And now we are going to create this. As you can see, all this detail, because you cannot modify any setting once it is created. So make sure everything you created properly here as per your requirement. Now, as you can see, this root CA got created, and we know the importance of root CA. We're not supposed to use the root CA in all the scenarios, all the cases, like to issue the certificate, to revoke the certificate, to validate the certificate. The best practice is what you must have one dedicated issuing server who will be responsible to take care of all these things. So let's go and create this issuing CA, Cloud 360 issuing CA. Now we are creating issuing CA. And the moment you create issuing CA, you must define that who will be the root CA for that. So either we can take that root CA from the Intune, which we have created, or if you have root CA, your own created in on-premises or somewhere else, so you can get a benefit of that as well. It's not mandatory that you have to create a root certificate authority at this place. We have seen organizations are very concerned about their root certificate authority. So they might be interested to keep that root certificate in their organization, maybe in on-premises, and they want to use this cloud to just issue the service and manage the certificate from there. So for that, we can take our root certificate from our own on-premises. In our scenario, we are using our root certificate from the cloud. So we'll go and pick the Intune and let's search for the root CA. This is what we created as root CA. So let's pick that one. Now, again, validity period, we'll be creating issuing CA for 2 years. Now, for what purpose? Means what it is going to issue for server authentication, client authentication, or code signing. You can have multiple, or we can go with just one and assign all the responsibility to that. Now, similarly, we will define the common name for this CA. So I'll say again, Cloud 360 issuing. Organization is going to be test.org, unit IT, India, Delhi, New Delhi. Same encryption key and hashing key. Next and create. So now we created issuing CA and root certificate authority. Now we can issue the certificate to the devices wherever we want, because we have this PKI infrastructure now in the cloud. When we say the infrastructure is on cloud, it doesn't mean it's a public, you can say cloud or certificate infrastructure. It's still a private certificate infrastructure. So all the computer, those who are going to use the certificate which has been issued by this authority, the devices must be trusting on these authorities. Okay. So we saw that how root certificate and issuing certificate authority will get created on Cloud PKI infrastructure. Now, the next part is how the user or devices will take this certificate. But before going there, we need to understand few things, how actually it works. So let's jump to the whiteboard and understand. Okay, so we have root CA and issuing CA now. Now we have to issue the certificate to my clients. I mean, the devices that we are managing through the Intune. So the purpose can be anything. Maybe that device needs a certificate to authenticate themselves, or maybe need a certificate to encrypt something or sign the code. So they can raise a request, request from the system, and the request will reach out to this root CA or issuing CA with the help of SCEP. There is one important thing that we need to understand. The moment you get a certificate, the certificate must be issued by one authority. So if your system is not trusting that authority, in that case, the certificate will not work. In our case, for example, I needed authentication, maybe client auth certificate or client auth certificate. Now, who is going to issue this certificate? Our root CA, this particular root CA. So I'll say Intune, root CA, or issuing CA. So remember, if you remember, while creating this root CA and issuing CA, we created and assigned a certificate to them as well. So if your device got a certificate called client certificate, which has been issued by this root CA or issuing CA, and if your device is not trusting on their root certificate authority or issuing certificate authority, it will not work. So the first thing is what? You must have root certificate and issuing CA certificate in your device trusted location, trusted certificate location. So that's the first thing you need to do. Just for understanding, for example, this is one of the website. As you can see, this website is secure. It means there is a SSL certificate. If I'll go to that place, here we can check that certificate. If I click on the certificate, as you can see, here we have this issued by. As you can see, the certificate currently which we are using website when issued by this particular certificate authority. If this certificate authority is not in my trusted list, we cannot validate the certificate that we are currently using at this place. Similarly, for any certificate, either it is in private or public, whoever is issuing the certificate, that certificate authority must be under your a trusted list. Otherwise, it won't work. Okay, so now let's see how practically we can issue this root certificate and how we can issue the client certificate. Okay, so as you can see, we got this root certificate authority, cloud certificate issuing CA, and cloud certificate root CA. Now, before going and assigning the certificate to the devices, let me show you how my device is currently having the certificate infrastructure. Now, if I'll go to their MMC, add remove snap-ins, certificate, computer account, next, finish. And there we get a list of trusted root certificate authorities. Do you have any certificate authority called Cloud 360 right now under their trusting list? No, you don't have. If you go and check the intermediate certificate, all your issuing certificate will fall here. If I'll go inside it, do you have Cloud 360? No, you don't have. So if you get a certificate which has been issued by Cloud 360, either issuing CA or the root CA, you won't trust on that certificate. So the first thing, your computer must trust to those authority certificates. And for that, let's go back to Intune. We will create, before creating the policy, first we will go to our root CA. And if you'll go down, there you're getting this download certificate option. So download this certificate for the root certificate authority. So this is what we downloaded. Now, similarly, we will download our issuing CA. If I'll go to this Cloud PKI, there we have issuing CA. Let's go to the properties of it. Now there you have again download certificate. Let's download it. Now we will go back to our devices. There we will create configuration policy. We'll select and target it to the Windows 10 and later. We'll go with template. And if you scroll it down, there we have trusted certificate template. We just need to pick that one. Here you need to give the name. I'll say root CA. Here we will select the CR file, certificate file, which we have already downloaded. You can see this is my root certificate. And where you want to store it. As you can see in a computer certificate store under the root or intermediate or user store. I said computer root. Next, where you want to assign. Let's go and assign to all devices. We do not have any rules for applicability, next, and create. Now we created the policy for root CA. Now we will create another policy. Again, we'll target to Windows 10. We'll go to the template. We'll pick again trusted certificate, issuing CA. We'll pick the issuing CA certificate. We'll select all devices and create. Once it is created, we can sync that. Let's go to WS1, and that's the info tab. There we will go and just sync. So it will pull all the policy configurations. If you can see here, we just issued the cloud root certificate here. And we also issued the Cloud 360 issuing CA in my trusting list. If you wish, you can send this configuration into the intermediate as well. For that, what do you need to do? You need to go back to your configuration manager. There we created device where is root CA and issuing CA. If I'll go and modify it, let's go to configuration. And as you can see, right now the destination store we selected root even for the issuing. So what we'll do, we'll go and put it intermediate and we'll pick the same. Right. And save it. Now what will happen? Now this issuing CA will fall under the intermediate location. So it depends where you want to keep it. Okay. So we saw that how we can modify the target. And now let's see how we are going to issue the certificate to the device for their, you can say, signing purpose or the authentication purpose. In that case, what do you need to do? Again, we need to create a policy. That's a new policy. There we will go to Windows 10 and later. And this time we are going to select the template. And the template will be SCEP certificate. If you remember what it is, Simple Certificate Enrollment Protocol. Now let's select this template. Go to next. There we will give a name. Test client auth. Now here it will ask you the configuration, like you want to issue the certificate to the user or to the devices. If you have subject name format and you want to customize it, that is also possible. We'll go with the device ID subject name format. If you want to set any subject alternative name in a certificate, that you can also specify with the specific value. There would be multiple scenario and requirement where you have to go with the subject alternative name that you can specify at this place. The certificate that you are issuing to your device, how long it would be valid, that you can specify. Now their key storage provider, where the key storage, as you can see, if you have a TPM, then it will get stored to this place. I mean, in the TPM chip. Otherwise, it will go with the software KSP. Now the key uses, I'll use this for digital signature or maybe depends on your requirement. You can pick whatever is required for you. Now the size that can be either 1024, 204 bit size of the key, hashing that you want to go with SHA1 or SHA2. That depends again on your requirement. You can pick that one. And here we need to specify who will be your root certificate. So my root certificate, as we know, what we created. So that will be my root certificate for the certificate. Here we can specify the use cases. So as you can see, we have for any purpose you want to use or for the client authentication or the secure mailing services. It depends on your requirement. For now, I'll go with the any purpose. Now, this is the main important part, how it will reach out to this SCEP server. So for that, you will come to again Intune. And if you remember, we created our issuing CA and the issuing CA will issue the certificate to you. So if I'll go to that issuing CA, that's my issuing CA. There, if I'll go to properties, that's the SCEP URI. Let's copy it. And we will paste it here. Now we'll say next. Assignment, we will target it to all devices. Next, next, and create. Now once we'll come back to our client side, let's go and sync it. We have issued a certificate to all the devices which is being managed by Intune, and we issued it to the device. It means we should go and explore the MMC and certificate for the device. Okay, seems done. Okay, so you can see here we got the certificate as we created with the ID. So that's the name. Otherwise, we can have other name, whatever you wish to, the subject name. And as you can see, this is for the purposes authentication. And as you can see, issued by this Cloud 360 issuing CA. If I'll go back, check the certificate is valid. And if I'll go to the certificate path, as you can see, this is your certificate issued by this issuing CA. This issuing CA is based on this particular root CA. That's the complete certificate chain. Okay, so I hope you got an idea how actually this PKI, I mean Cloud PKI is being configured and how we can issue the certificate to our devices. So thank you so much for watching and see you in next video.